cannot possibly be making $6,000 more than I made as a principal to work with 6 children. No lesson plans? Really? And I don't have to fund everything out of my pocket? That's just not real. Pretty cool, right? Hi, my name's Christie, and I am an L1 guide here at Alpha. So I started in Tampa, Florida, and I worked at a university study school. So I was always trying to look for like that edge of learning. I just absolutely love constantly growing. And then decided I wanted to do more. And there was a grant that Bill Gates was putting out to study teaching. And so I was a new teacher mentor. And then that allowed me to get my master's degree because it gave me some time and I became an assistant principal. Well, then the assistant principal, you're not really running the ship. And I kind of like to be in charge. So I decided I would go be a principal. And I became a principal. And then I really just like coaching and guiding and mentoring. So I moved into kind of a district role where I was creating the program to make people principals. And then you reach the point where you've read all the books, you're hanging out with the experts. And so there's really, where do you go from there? And I was kind of looking at education and I realized that it was broken. So I'm going into a new teacher's classroom and I'm like, hi, new teacher and a principal. I need you to do this and differentiate for students. And I know in my heart that I'm setting them up for failure. I would never set a student up for failure. Why am I setting my staff up for failure? Teaching isn't just a job. To me, it's a calling. It's good. You kind of want these around the same area. So a week before I show up, I get this phone call from the director of K-8, and she says, listen, we've taken over a failing charter school, and there are some students that are disrupting the learning. And I read between the lines. I said, so you want me to take the 6 most difficult kids to teach in the school? She said, yes. And I said, sure, behavior is my forte. I can do this. Day 3, I was not sure I could do it. It was really tough. We made it through, and of those 7 students, every single one of them in just 3 months grew a full year. One of them grew 3 years. And that was when I was hooked. If we can do that with students who, they have all sorts of scarcities, a couple of them were living in hotels and just didn't have what the basic needs of humanity, and they can make that growth, imagine what it can do for any other child. And then I just said to Steph, I said, I've seen how it works at Nova, but I really want to know the real model. And so I asked to come here and learn the model with Fidelity. They were kind enough to grant me that request, and I have grown more in the last, few months than I think I have in 20 years. We are with the kids all day long. We eat lunch with them. We don't have prep periods. And so you might think, wow, you must do a lot of work after school. I can count on one hand the number of times I've had to work after hours. And I remember my husband saying to me for the first time, he said, you're back. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you've been gone for years. And he said, it's so great to see you back with us as a family. So it truly, the kids get their time back, but I got my time back. Education is tough. Teachers leave after 5 years, and it's just burnout because you're constantly failing. You're either failing to meet kids' needs, you're failing to be a mom at home, you're failing to make the deadlines. At Alpha, I am given everything that I need to make students successful. Every day, I get to do what teachers love best. I get to be with kids. I get to make their day. I get to help them love learning. And our kids run into school faster than they run out, which is really the measure of a truly great school.